Okay, I'm going to call the September 18th meeting of the HPC to order. And welcome. It's nice to have a full house to hear what we're doing. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. The first item on our agenda is an action item, the request of Royston Jester to replace ridge caps.
Hello.
Thank you, and if you'll tell us your name again, please.
My name is David
and-
Rella. I'm with Sinbar Roofing. Royston is on a previously scheduled vacation, so
All righty.
I'm here to speak with him. I think where we left off is we were really wanting to save the ridge caps. The week after I was here, I sent a team over and spent about a half a day trying to remove what's currently there. Hoping is never a good game plan, but we were hoping to save what's on the building, and I think we damaged or broke more than we were able to salvage, so we kind of had to move to plan B at that point. Went and spoke to many manufacturers that we either currently deal with, have dealt with, just anything in the past, and I think overall everybody agrees what's currently on the roof was probably custom made for that time at a metal shop, and if we want anything in that fashion, we're probably going to get somebody to custom make that for us. Unfortunately.
So would your stock element be across there?
So I hope that, that which right there is what is customly put on that synthetic slate. They don't get near, as you can see, as fancy with the custom designs as, 100 years ago, but in order to get anything like that, we're going to have to get someone to custom make something for us, and we don't do that. We've never dealt with it. It's just somebody from a metal shop is going to have to fabricate that for us.
So, is that what you're proposing to do, to have it
Yes, ma'am.
custom made?
Yes, ma'am. No, I'm
You're not proposing custom made, you're
Yeah.
proposing.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin on getting something like that beautiful art design that somebody around here in the United States, Royston can search that if he wants, but what we're proposing to put on what the manufacturer suggests.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Do I hear a motion?
That's a far cry from what was there. so.
Yeah.
And you don't know, you ever not familiar with any, I
Yeah,
don't mean to
there's-
put you on the spot, but have
there's
you
people
seen
out
that
there.
done before or recreated or?
Yeah, I mean, it's the custom element, not an off-the-shelf item. I mean,
Gotcha.
you'd be I'm blanking on his name, up on 12th Street, a lighting company, but they do custom metal and everything. They could make it, but
At what cost, right? Of course.
it's not gonna be a cheap element.
Right, right.
Plus installation, special
Yeah.
installation.
Yeah.
So do I hear a motion?
I'll put it on the table. I make a motion to approve as submitted. It's unfortunate that something like this can't be recreated at, not a crazy cost. At the same time, I understand the roof, the material is something that's approved, and it's an old roof that's there, and if
That
it-
has to be replaced.
Exactly,
There's no
right.
question. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there further discussion? I think everybody probably feels the same way.
Oh, I absolutely
And,
back
yeah.
what you're feeling. Absolutely,
Yeah.
it's just it's unfortunate, but I'd hate to know what the cost would to get somebody to make that and then put it on. It would be expensive.
You're saying 100 years, but really it's more than 100.
Yeah, oh, yes, yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you can tell Mr. Jester.
You got it. Thank y'all. Y'all have a lovely evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. The first item is the request of Ernest Lampa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, to reconstruct a porch at 208 Madison Street.
Well, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Lumpahy. I'm John Sosofsky with Lone Jack Contracting. I'm the one that's been working down here on these old things forever and a day. And basically, that was the house as it was built. This whole section of wall here is disintegrated. And we started a couple of months ago, and I just got done digging most of the pieces out of the mud in the front yard. What we're proposing is rebuilding it so that it looks exactly like it did. We're going to come in, we're going to break it at a column line right here, remove everything in this area, dig down, pour footing, then pour a 6-inch concrete retaining wall with a drain system inside the porch area itself. And then we will reface it with the existing stones or recast new ones. So, and then I've got some pictures of some of the damage. It's just crumbling apart.
I'm very familiar with this house. I used to live a block from it and been through it when it was for sale. It could be or it was one of the showpieces in town at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of that block, as you mentioned, on the front and also in the back, I think.
Yeah,
kinda
we've
spread
dug out
around.
everything we could. The mason that's going to be working with me is Donnie Purvis. And Donnie and I worked at Poplar Forest together, and he's extremely talented at replicating these things. I don't know if y'all were around when a couple of years ago we had to remake similar stones for the chimney on the New Covenant Fellowship House on the other end.
Yep.
And Donnie was able to replicate them almost exactly.
Are there any questions or comments, Mr. Sosofsky?
John is fine.
John, it's
My
easier
ex-wife
to
calls me
say.
other things, but we don't have to.
Thank you. Questions, concerns, comments? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're good to go.
I'm released to my
Thank
own
you.
recognizance. So.
Thank you.
finished product.
Yeah.
I will send on photos. Cool, thank you.
Okay, the next item is the request of Zach Schultz to remove a fence, construct a floating deck, and paint a door at 2144 Rivermont.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Zach Schultz. I own 2144 and 2142 now. We just finished closing on that one. So we just have a few pretty simple things that we want to go through and get removed and built. So the first one is the fence between the two houses. We just want to remove it. I don't think it's original. It must not be. Just remove it. We want to put a nice hedge there, like a cherry laurel hedge or something. So that's the first one. Do you want me to go through all of them? Okay. And then the other one is there was a chicken coop behind the house that's no longer there. The original owner, or not the original, the person before us put that up. It's no longer there. We're proposing to put a floating deck there. We've started landscaping around it. You'll see it in a second. So you won't even see it from the park or from the road. But you can kind of see where the chicken coop used to be, right there. So that's the second one. And then the third one is just, we want to paint the front door black. We're going to match it to the shutters.
Nice.
Yep.
Beautiful property.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
The one question I had has nothing to do with historic preservation. I was just wondering, the neighbors were okay with the fence fence coming down, but since you own.
Yeah, yeah.
It's clearly not original, of course, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And my dad actually lives in 2142, so I just brought him along because he's living in the house next door. So
Questions, concerns? Do I hear a motion?
I'll motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All righty. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right.
all right, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you very much,
Thanks very
Mr.
much.
Schultz. So, with permission from the commissioners, I would like to move item C to the end. Okay. Item C. Okay. Item D, E, F, G, and H are items from Mr. West and Mr. Service. So, welcome. So, we start with 700 Court.
700 Court Street. So this request is just for painting. It's time, the building needs to be repainted, and Tony asked me to look at something that makes it a little more attractive and accentuates the building as it is. So right now it's just all like a light gray. And this is just looking at just trying to take some of the different elements and keep it fairly in this style, but not quite as monochromatic, and just take it a little bit out. So there's brick pilasters that stand out are the darker color with the main body of the brick, the lighter blue, and then painting all the horizontal elements of a tannish color.
Questions or concerns or comments? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Cool.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All righty.
Cool.
You got your painting. Okay, the next one is the request for 455.
Yeah, so this
Vermont.
we brought last month with a initial scope that was approved, and Tony's and his guys started clearing all the overgrowth and cleaning out that we could actually get in the basement. And so we just have a few additional items as we could see more of the building. So on the this is great, Eve. The first request is just on this side only. There are these metal awnings that we'd like to remove. And then on the first floor, as we were looking more at plans, there's this little 3x3 landing to inside that we feel would help the floor plan inside if we infill it with walls, and just we would do like a contrasting lap siding. That stair would go away. And then on the basement, there is, even with clearing the overgrowth, this is the best I could do, is seeing it so you can see it a little bit more from the interior picture. But that is existing fiber cement siding on the outside that's just run across all those brick piers. So we want to take that down, and because it was clearly added afterwards, and instead infill in between the brick piers so that you see the brick on the outside. And with that would have a new door where the existing door is and some new windows and it's just on the basement and mostly on the back with a little bit on the side. And this door is, based on our conversation last month, would be we'd be happy with either a half light or 3/4 light with just a single pane. I think that was all the items, right, Eve?
Okay.
Yes, sorry. That would just be outside of the back door of the basement. Right now inside that rear room under the porch, you step down a couple feet, so the plan would be to infill there, and so it would just be like enough for a door landing, 2 feet up.
And then what about the rear low slope roof? What is that currently?
That is, I thought we already, that is, good question. I don't,
Rear roof, I think it's steel.
it's like old metal, but it's low
We're
slope and
going
it's
back
not,
with metal and-
okay.
Oh, you are? Okay, because
Yeah.
it said membrane. So you don't want to do that anymore?
No, I think we're doing metal. It had enough pitch on it, we're doing
Okay.
metal roof. It'll look
Okay.
nicer, last long. We did new slate already on the upper
Yeah.
part of the roof.
I remember that was approved already,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I wasn't sure about this one.
Okay.
Okay. And then, yep, these are the plans. I have a printed version too, if anyone wants to look at that.
You've got a mix of windows around the house?
It looks.
I think they're all, well, yeah, the base, there are those two on the side in the basement are 6/6. The rest of them on the upper floors are, there are a mix, you're right. Most of them are 2/2. There's, if you're looking at the bottom left, the side elevation, that square window towards the front is a decorative window that's just being repaired. And then there's another small one in the back.
So the three that we're seeing on this.
The three that you're seeing in the bottom right and the one on the bottom left, furthest to the left, are new in the new infill walls in the basement.
And they're all, and you're proposing just 1/1?
Just 1/1 to contrast with the existing.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any comments, questions about anything? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, next. Next will be 441.
So this is responding to items from last month. One being that this is the one that Tony had just we raised the floor inside and infilled with lap siding. So our proposal is to go back with brick in below those windows inset from the face of the brick, so that it's clear that it was the window opening. And also, this was one of the items where the rear doors that were put in were the Craftsman style. So this is the replacement door panel that we're proposing. Again, either the half light or 3/4 light, based on our discussion. And then the deck. So we went back and looked at the deck and looked at what the guidelines say. And there's not really anything in the guidelines. Like the item on the picket says if it's visible from the front that they should be closer spaced. So we'd like to try and just keep it the way it is. And this is further along from the pictures I had taken last time, so everything's painted the white. And I did go and take a tape measure and it's within 3 or 4 inches of the depth. And I tried to take this picture at a better angle that you could see that it is not, because that was one of the concerns, was that it was really shallow, but it's 7 feet to the outside of the post. And those are my measurements in the top right from the first time I went, and I got 6'9" to the inside. So it's within an inch or two of the size it was. And is this part of this one too? Okay, and then
Or wait.
or is this the next one?
The next.
That's the next one, okay, yeah.
So I think all of their concerns were addressed. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, next is 447.
So this is similar to that last one. Didn't have the issue with the windows, but the same response with the doors, same replacement door panels. Same comment on the deck, this is the one that had the 2 decks originally. The overall extents to the outside are roughly the same on the outside. Obviously, it's 1 deck, so there's not the gap, but it is in the back. It meets what the guidelines say for new decks. And then one additional item here, and this is between both the last one and this one. So it actually is sort of half and half, for both. The retaining wall that you can see in the top picture, just the top of, it's actually probably 4 feet on the left side and close to 10 feet on the right. And so we need to put a fence there, which will both, provide what we need for code safety purposes and screen the parking that we're going to talk about and the little bit of this deck stair that you can see. And that would just be a simple wooden picket with dog ears per what the guidelines say, with some shrubs in front. It's a little unfortunate because the retaining wall is in front. It meets the porch of 441 on the left, but goes into the house on the right, but that's where the retaining wall is.
Might think about that later on the end of the porch. And the fall protection off of it, if that end of the porch is pretty far
Oh, I see
down.
what you're saying on the side. And we
that
can look at
little
that.
gap.
We might be able to, you can see the retaining wall turns to the left, so we could turn the new fence to the back and then meet the
Something to
house.
close that gap.
Just
so
to, yeah.
A, you can't get through there, and B, off the
Yep.
porch.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Questions or comments? Okay,
I'll move to approve as submitted.
is there a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, last one is the parking for 429, 433, 441, and 447.
Yep. And so we went back and looked and met with Tom and yourself and Eve. And what we're proposing is to break it up into 3 separate lots with access from the 3 existing drives, as you can see here all together, with the largest portion being behind 447 and 441 because of that, the way the grade falls, there's no access between them with that retaining wall. And again, we went back and looked after the meeting and reread the guidelines and feel like it meets all the items. It's actually pretty explicit in the guidelines when you're using houses for commercial or multifamily that they should be in the back, not on the side. Use existing access drives where they are. So we feel like and should be screened from the street, which they will be. So we feel like we're meeting
And
the
this
intent of all the items.
satisfies the environmental
Yes, and we've
guidelines.
met with the city, we're satisfying all the stormwater environmental guidelines with the size of the lots, so.
But you're proposing to remove the brick?
So there's two of the aprons are concrete and are wider. This is the one that's narrower, so it needs to be widened up. We'd like to go back with concrete to match the other two and differentiate it from the brick sidewalk.
And give the bricks to the
And
city
give-
spot. Did I read that correctly?
This actually was
Yeah.
one that Tony's contractor submitted this part of the HPC, or this part of the COA, yeah. So.
Widening?
We would widen it just a couple feet. It's like just under 8 feet right now.
And reuse the curved granite?
Yeah, we can reuse
Edges.
the curb granite, yeah.
We just want to widen.
We just wanna widen it,
side of
yeah.
that house in it because it's up close to
This is-
439, it's so close
Yeah.
now. So, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. But just reusing that granite will go along.
Yeah, we can do that, yep.
Yes, sir.
And the driveway itself is gravel now, is that correct?
Well, it's gravel right now, just in construction. It's
Right.
broken up
Yeah, that's
asphalt
what I
and
meant. It's not like there's something
there's
under there currently, correct?
asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do I hear a motion?
Seeing the soil and erosion control being addressed, that
Yes.
gives
Yes.
me comfort.
Hmm?
So I'd move to approve.
Okay. Is
I'll
there a second?
Yeah, I'll second. And I'd like to add, I appreciate what you
Yeah,
all have done
yeah.
over the last month to change, or I feel improve.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you do too.
We did.
Good.
All right.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you all.
Mr. Service and Mr. West.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the last item on our agenda is the request of Burrell Construction Company to construct a new home and garage at 1101 Harrison Street.
I'm Lisa Johnston from Mark's office. He's out of town.
Oh, okay, well, I
So
was
I
kind
hope I
of
can
caught.
answer any questions that you
I
have.
was caught off guard because I was going to say he was not here, and that was one of the reasons. So you're Lisa Johnson?
Johnston, yes, ma'am.
Johnston, okay. Okay. And I will start off by saying that I met Mr. Burrell at 1101. Had a hard time finding the lot. It's so overgrown. It's hard to see. It's very high. It has a beautiful wall that who knows how long it's been there. Tried to find out when a house was there, but I was not successful in finding out what was there, although it must have been a very big house. And so Mr. Burrell would like to construct a new dwelling there, and he has revised his plan. It is a one-story structure, which is still very high up. And as everybody here, if you checked your email, you had a letter from a neighbor objecting to a one-story house. So I would ask that that we we table rather than deny
Well, let's
at this
discuss that.
point, yeah. if we don't approve, so. Okay, let's jump right in.
It's very high up. I haven't driven
Yeah.
by this, but I will maybe this afternoon. It's a pretty day too. So a one-story house that high up would stay with the scale of the neighborhood if you've been there, so you would be able to confirm that.
It's a neighborhood with every style of house that you can imagine.
That's the other question I wanted to
Yeah,
ask. Okay.
yeah, there's not, did you get up there?
Oh, yeah. I've
Yeah.
been
Do you agree
Completely
with,
down the street. Yeah,
uh,
it is a street of two-story houses. The letter writer is mostly true. I mean, here are examples and
Yeah,
stuff.
sure.
That one is directly to the left of the lot, and then I believe 1102 is across the street, and then on the other side across the street is 1023.
I mean, they are primarily, there is one single-story house down about 3 or 4 blocks west, a small stucco house.
I think that's out of the district
I
though,
was
isn't
gonna
it?
say,
Is it out of the
Yeah,
district?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what the square footage of every house on the street is, but with the size of them, I'd guess they're, 3,000 square foot and better houses up and down
Oh,
that
yeah.
street. I don't think we're gonna find another 3,000 square foot house here.
no. No.
I personally, I struggle with it being one story. I'm not opposed to new construction in historic districts, but I haven't seen, well, in my opinion, what's been presented in my time here. I haven't seen something that I felt was appropriate that doesn't, of course, it's new construction, but resemble modern architecture and materials and look like something more of what you would find perhaps in Forest or in a newer subdivision. That's my opinion. I've, not been in the majority before, but that's how I feel.
So you're thinking more what we saw on Cabell Street?
No, I personally wasn't in favor of that either.
Well, you seem to be on that one more density-wise.
Agreed. And the latter, I don't want to compare here, but the latter drawings were much improved over the initial drawings, in my opinion.
You mean
They
the Cabell Street ones?
more closely resembled what was in the neighborhood.
Of Cabell,
Correct.
yeah, okay.
I agree with you on that as well. As far as the design, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it really, the one story I could see getting by on that just because of the height of the property, but it does feel like this is, yes, there's a gabled roof, but it's not really the same type of gable that you see on the other homes on that street, and the windows aren't, those homes you see the large windows, the 2/2, then not a lot of shutters, and this just doesn't really feel like it's within keeping of that style that you see on that street, so.
Is there a strong attachment to kind of what's presented here, do you know, or is there?
Well, part of the reason why we were going with a 1-story as opposed to a 2-story is because of cost.
Sure.
Costs are astronomical right now. To put a 2-story house like some of the others that are on the same street, you're looking at a $500,000 house easily. And to find somebody that will buy a $500,000 house on Harrison Street is going to be hard.
What about in terms of the materials and the look of the
He
design?
changed them after speaking with someone, so I'm sure that he could change, whatever is recommended. I don't think that he's totally attached to them. We do think it looked better the first time, but we understand with the neighborhood and that concept. Just need to know what you want to change.
Yeah. It also feels like, I don't want to pick it apart, but the porch too just doesn't really feel appropriate for that historic district. And I sympathize with the letter that was submitted in those regards. Like, you generally see those porches expand the whole front of the house, if not up to a point that the house, comes forward, if there's a room that's, up next to the porch. So it just, I don't know. I think there's things that can be done to tweak this to make it a little bit more in keeping, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I just struggle with how it is right now.
I think the one-story element is, I could live with the one story.
Because
I
of
mean,
the elevation.
It's way high.
You can't
We're
see the
not go-
house from the street.
I think your point of, we're not gonna get a $500,000 house built there, and I'd love new construction in the historic district. I did meet with Mr. Burrell, and we chatted, and I encouraged more and more historic detail and massing, and this is a second iteration that he did after he and I met, and it is less suburban, but I still think it could take a little more tilt to the historic massing, the historic detailing, without having to be a 3,000 square foot, 2-story house. Again, I can live with a 1-story, I can live with generally this, to be something that could sell. I'd love to see new construction in the historic district, but.
Yeah, it's exciting to me, and I told this to him when I met with him, that to have a lot that's been vacant for over 50 years, I think, and to have something happen. I think it's good for the neighborhood, but we need to be in tune with the neighborhood, as the woman who wrote to us
I think
indicated.
the Secretary of Interior standards that we kind of go by in terms of guidelines, it talks about massing and detail and placement.
Is that something, for those of you who are more experienced than I am on this commission, is that something that it would be another meeting with them in order to help give specifics, to guide a lot, so that they don't spend another month submitting something that isn't, how can we help them get or suggest specifically where they need to be to get them a little further in keeping?
Maybe a Rick Morris or
I suggested that.
a Lauren.
Yeah, Deonich.
Deonich.
Yeah, I did suggest that.
But
so.
to his point, you didn't love
I'm only one person.
that. But I see where you're coming from. But
But I do think they have those folks do have more experience in historic
For sure.
building, so
definitely.
that might be a good resource to consult.
So what is it that we would like to see changed, if, in fact, we're going to move forward with approving new construction that doesn't cost $500,000? I don't know how many of you go by that lot on Rivermont Avenue that has been vacant for 50 years, and nobody will build. So, anyway, I think this is personally, it's exciting to me to see something happen on Garland Hill, and so.
what do we think of, not locking in on these things, but just bulleting some of the items we've talked about, then speak to each one in particular? We can either remove or keep, but I think the porch, I heard, the gable, what were a couple of other items?
I had mentioned windows, and then and then the shutters, which is more of a decorative thing, but in the draft, the shutters are smaller, and they're certainly not trying to create the illusion of functional shutters, and so, maybe more attention to details like that, that would kind of mirror what some of the other homes have, and the homes that would have been built in that era would have had. So
Shutters, was there another call out that you had?
No, I mean, it has metal on the porch and on that side gable now. And I know we're not gonna get slate, and we're probably not even gonna get synthetic slate. But it has architectural shingles, so that's good. The metal roof certainly helps the vocabulary,
How about the wrought iron? Because I didn't have a problem with wrought iron.
Is that on the porch?
Across
Steps and the porch.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess started this discussion last meeting where I had COVID, so I was not here. You're okay with the garage?
Yes,
I
we
am.
talked to the city and I can't think who he's
Kevin
talked to.
Henry. Kevin Henry?
Yes, to Kevin, yeah.
About setbacks.
Yeah, and so the placement of it has to be where it is, and
It's not a front elevation.
it's not, you
porch.
can't
No,
see.
I don't have a problem with it. I just want
Yeah.
to make sure you all are there. So it's porch, shutters, windows. Gable.
And what about the gable?
I don't know, you had mentioned,
Yeah, I had mentioned the gable, just, I mean, when I'm looking at the some of the other homes on that street, it seems like the gable's more of an accent, whereas on this, it's like the whole thing is gabled, and so it's like multiple levels of gables in the draft, so, I didn't know if there was something, as they're maybe playing around with the porch, if there's something we can do about creating some different lines of interest instead of just two gables, one in front of the other.
You're thinking of the porch coming all the way to the edge of the house as opposed to stopping?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Emmett?
Yeah, I think that helps. The windows, if you're talking about, are they 2/2s or something to give it a little more?
It's just something to give it a little bit more interest. I think 2/2 would be fine. There's plenty of homes in that area that have 2/2, so.
Can I back up to shingles, architectural shingles? I'm not an expert. The only ones I know are asphalt.
They are.
And that's the only type? So if I'm hearing you saying that that's good?
We certainly have asphalt shingles in the districts,
The-
when they're there existing. A new construction, I think that's, it's pushing the envelope a long way to say you're gonna do slate.
Oh, I didn't say that, but I didn't say
or
us, right.
Simulated slate is a leap, a big leap from asphalt shingles. If you're,
I haven't priced them, but I do understand it to be more. I'm not debating that.
yeah.
There's other materials even than slate or synthetic slate or asphalt
Yeah.
that are approved on other homes. I just wanted to make sure I understood, that's all.
Yeah,
So you thinking
it-
like a metal roof or?
I'm just saying there's other options.
Yeah.
I'm not stepping on what's taking place. I'm not prepared to offer a punch list of what I think should change to their design. My role is to review
Yeah.
what's submitted. Yeah. I can't get past one story, but again, I'm one person. When I look at everything else on the block or the historic blocks on that street, that's not what I'm finding. And pick a neighborhood, we can go to Forest if you want. There's rules or there's guidelines. You can't build, I don't know all of them, but if you go to a developed neighborhood, you can't go and build what you want. You have to conform to what's around it. In my view, this is not conforming, in particular being one story, but some of the other characteristics as well.
So the one story doesn't bother me because you won't see this
Well,
house.
if you walk the sidewalk and look
tower.
at any house, if you do a 360, you
Yeah.
can see all the roof lines.
Well, you'll have to look up like that.
I'm not arguing, but if you look for roof lines,
Yeah.
you're gonna see something not consistent. I'm one person again,
Yeah.
you asked, so.
So could we ask for to come back next month with some revisions for review?
Yeah, and I think that's sort of what we're trying to gives at least some feedback. I mean, to your point, we're not really necessarily required to offer, like, but.
I'm not saying I don't want to work
Yeah.
with them at all.
Sure, sure.
I didn't come in with something, and I'm probably not the most skilled, or that's not my profession. Yeah, happy to work with them.
Drawings are always good. Showing it, a sample from a suburban house probably didn't help. Visualize what this would look like, that looks,
That's the colors that he
yeah,
hopes to
I get
use.
it. No, I know, the colors are great, anywhere, so.
So if I have this right, you want a bigger front porch all the way across the front, better roof lines with the gables, shingles, and slate possibly.
No, I don't think we're asking for so.
Well,
No.
I mean, we can price things like that. I mean, it's not something that we can't look at. We
Yeah,
just need to get more depth about it.
I think,
And then bigger shutters and more old-fashioned looking windows. Is that right?
just like a two-hour.
Old fashioned, I would just say like historically appropriate for the neighborhood.
A 2/2.
Yeah, 2 or something like that, yeah. And so, you know, these aren't personal preferences, these are just kind of what the guidelines say, you know, you look at what's appropriate for that district, so. I think these are just suggestions, and if they can go back and maybe think about changes that could fall more in line with the guidelines, then I think we'll have a little bit more to discuss then, so.
And Eve, this is your understanding, we're talking about the guidelines here, not personal preferences still. I'm with you, but I wanted to ask Eve too, so. Yeah, reading over this, all this makes sense to me too, to ask for these things. But I should also say, I will join it, excited that someone's backfilling in a house. Just wanted to make it look like the house doesn't immediately pop out, oh, that's new built. It's going to be new built, we're gonna know it's new built. But you don't want it to feel like it just got plopped from another neighborhood, just dropped in there. So a little bit of tweaking, I think you hear that it's leaning toward approval with some changes, so.
Does it need to have shutters? I don't remember a lot of shutters. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
I think the guidelines say if you do have shutters, they're supposed to look functional.
Yeah.
Rather than
Decorative.
decorative.
Yeah.
I think
But I
there
don't
are
think
no-
it says you have to have
Yeah, I
them.
don't think there are a lot of shutters
Yeah, I
up
think-
there.
And those, the neighborhood sampling, we have a mix probably of both.
Everything
Yeah.
is up there.
Yeah, I mean, I went
And
down the
The
street.
houses that have bigger windows almost look better without the shutters, because the window is the, you know, that's the,
Right.
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
draws your eye.
Yeah, I think I would get rid of the shutters.
There's no shutters there, okay. No shutters.
No
None
shutters.
there.
Yeah, I don't remember any shutters.
And that's the
actually.
lot that we just,
Yeah,
you're going
you can't really
by.
see anything because
Gee
it's
whiz.
overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
No shutters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really should be 2 stories. He has a
Oh, yeah.
good point.
Yeah, they're all 2 stories for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is
And
like
those
sort of a
shutters are
story and a
probably
half
added
look
on
to
after the
it,
fact,
so.
so,
yeah.
And you'll
Say the
notice the
majority
windows
don't
have a
have.
scale that is much larger.
Than these, yeah.
So those shutters aren't real.
So yeah, we've only found one that has
Mm-hmm.
shutters, and
Can we go back up one more time?
Oh,
There's
Two.
another one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, those aren't real either.
Kind of just thinking of the 2-story.
So that's going up the street in that lot.
Yeah, they're all, well,
We did one house up there on that.
fun, yeah.
yeah, I think I went down the whole street, and
Yeah.
they're all 2-story except for.
Yeah, until you get, I didn't remember where the district stops, but there's a little stucco 1-story about 4 blocks down.
Yeah,
But we didn't see any houses with functional shutters.
maybe one.
One, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, probably not functional at this point, but.
So it would definitely be omitted.
Yeah, we can scrap that together.
So do you have any questions of us?
No, ma'am.
So Eve, is the best course of action to table it, to
Yes.
postpone it?
Mhm.
Okay. I
And then
make
they can bring back revised materials for the next meeting.
So I make a motion to table this till next month's meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Seems we have-
Hmm?
No.
I'm looking for something that I hurriedly put together, which I can't find it out, but, as you know, we have this, visit with council coming up, at the end of the month, and then, making our presentation in October. So just for fun, I went back from January to June, and during that time, we considered 32 applications, and of those 32, we denied 2 partially. One was on Diamond Hill. That was the woman with the off-street parking, and then she came back, and we approved that. The other one was the Harrison Street
the
windows, which that was a partial approval too, and then a partial denial. And the Garland Hill and Diamond Hill had they were the only 2 partial approvals, and they were all after the fact. We approved one after the fact application, and that was Mr. West. But anyway, I think that's a good record that we had 32, we denied 2, and we didn't deny anybody who had come to us and who had worked with us. And so I don't know how I'm gonna.
It may be worth mentioning to them as well that, like today as an example, when we can't reach consensus, that we often ask them to come back at, if you can address A, B, and C, and that typically leads to a resolution, a favorable.
Yeah, I will do that. The other thing I'm working on, and I have to go to the city, is to find out how much property the value has increased in historic districts. And I've done Rivermont, but I can't do Diamond Hill because I have to go to the assessor's office to get the assessments. But in Rivermont, and I took 12 properties, upper, middle, and lower, and the assessed value has increased 2.5 times since Rivermont became a historic district. So
Is that like 88-ish?
no,
Is that what
it's 2003.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was
Before
longer.
that.
Isn't that right? 2003.
Shit, I'd have to look it up. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I know it was the last
It is.
one.
It's 20 years.
I believe
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So,
It's also worth noting, I think, that the last person that was in the March city council meeting was someone who was not building his own home, but rather a contractor who was doing this in order to sell it. And that's true of the same person on Pearl Street, that this is not someone, so their incentive ultimately is to save as much money as possible because they're flipping the house, not to actually fit into the historic district. Their incentive is very much, well, I'll pull back. Their incentive is to save money, not necessarily to fit into the historic district, so.
I feel Harrison, the one that has come and gone, is in the same thing. It was a rental, it's now for sale, but it was an investment property.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Anything else?
We do have a new commissioner who will be joining us at the next meeting.
Oh.
I believe his name is Peter Alexander. I have not met him yet, so I think he just got appointed on last Tuesday, so I don't know if he even knows yet, but but yeah, hopefully next meeting.
Does he live in a historic district, do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know yet. I only know his name so far.
Okay, well, that's great.
Do you know how he came to be known to the?
I have no clue. Nope.
Okay. Anything, well, we have a new face across from us. Tell us who you are.
This is Andrew Jensen. He is our new planning tech.
Okay.
He'll be doing our
Welcome.
minutes and setting up for us and keeping us all in line.
All right. All right. We're glad to meet you and look forward to working with you. So if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.